And this is the two-headed monster.
Hello!
And we're here to tell you all about the word conflict.
Conflict!
Right, conflict. You guys ready to show conflict?
Ready!
Okay, here we go. The two-headed monster showing us conflict.
빠져볼래는 지키 거서워. 오, 이게 되면 얻어봐줘.
Time out, guys. I'm not sure you understand. We need to show everyone conflict.
Conflict!
Right, but I'm afraid that wasn't conflict.
No conflict.
No, you see, a conflict is when two people fight or disagree about something, and they have a conflict.
Oh, conflict!
Okay, great.
Conflict!
We're ready to try again? Okay, here we go. The two-headed monster is now going to show us conflict. Take two.
보내줘, 만.
One of them has a flower he says is his. That's a promising start.
이게 뭐야, 만.
Looks like the other one wants the same flower. This could be some conflict.
빠져볼래 거 봐. Share?
Oh, they're sharing.
Okay, stop! What?
Look, that was very nice. That was lovely, actually. You were sharing, and that warms the cockles of my heart. But listen, my fuzzy two-headed friend, that was not conflict.
No conflict!
No conflict.
이제 뭐냐고 또
No,
conflict!
I'm just sorry, it wasn't.
뭐냐고 conflict! Wait! What?
I just realized something.
What?
We disagree. We're arguing about something.
So?
We're having a conflict.
Conflict?
Conflict.
Hello everyone, my name is Bill Prater, and as you saw there, I'm going to talk a lot about conflict. Now, conflict is something that is typically considered to be a negative connotation, and I want to try to alleviate that today, because conflict, just like anything else in life, is something we have to navigate. And in order to navigate that, especially in a relationship situation, we have to learn to deal with conflict. And so today I'm going to talk to you briefly about a communication theory called relational dialectics. Now don't be scared off by the word dialectic. All that means is there's always some sort of opposing force. There are things that we have to deal with ourselves and with others in a relationship, and there are ways in which we have to decide how we're going to handle those situations. So what I'd like to do is kind of give you some examples, explain three ways in which dialectics can be handled, the way that they're separated, and then I'm going to briefly talk about some ways to handle dialectics. There are basically three ways in which dialectics happen. And the first dialectic that's very common is known as autonomy versus connection. And what autonomy versus connection tells us is that when we're in a relationship, we have the goal of being alone at times, but we want to connect with our partner and be part of our partner as well. And so there's the struggle of how much of ourselves do we give up to the relationship and how much do we keep to ourselves. And that's always a struggle of something that we have to deal with any relationship situation. The second common dialectic would be openness versus closeness. How much do I reveal? How much of past relationships, for instance, Baxter and Montgomery, the creators of dialectics, would say, how much do I give to myself, to my partner and let them know about? What do I keep to myself? If we're in a workplace situation, how much do I let my boss know about? How much do I not? Again, there are multiple dialectics. The third one I'd briefly like to talk about is what's called novelty versus predictability. And with novelty versus predictability, we are looking at how do we keep the relationship fresh? You hear that a lot. How do I keep my relationship fresh? But then, the whole point of getting the relationship is you get into some sort of routine. And there's parts of it that you're glad to know that every Saturday night this is going to happen. But when do I keep it fresh as well? So these dialectics, these goals, these individual goals, these relationship goals are always happening, always taking place. And what we're trying to decide is how to deal with them. Now, Baxter and Montgomery talk about in the relational dialectic essays and books, etc., that there's kind of 8 ways in which we've learned to deal with them. And I'm briefly going to talk about each one here today. The first would be denial. I love saying that denial ain't just a river in Egypt. And then wait for the couple of seconds pause and then the hopeful laugh when I'm trying to make a joke. But the first way we can handle it is by simply saying it doesn't exist. You see this a lot in loss. Doing a lot of research on this dialectic, when people have loss, they have the struggle with knowing that they're going to a better place. You know, in our Christian view, we know that heading up to the heaven is a beautiful thing, and that's where everybody wants to go. But there's still that denial that we don't want this person to leave the earth, and we don't want to lose touch with this person physically. So there's always the struggle, and so sometimes we just deny it. It's not happening. It's not going to take place, and we kind of move on. The second is what's known as disorientation. And with disorientation, you have this fatalistic view. Anytime conflict comes into place, you run away. You'll often hear this as commitment issues. People who are afraid to be part of something because they're afraid of what's going to happen. And so they run away, they escape. And quite often when things are going well, that's the kind of relationship where a person breaks away. So you have to learn to try to cope with that. The third way that we deal with it is what's known as spiraling inversion. And what spiraling inversion is, as you can see here, is simply a tug of war. I have this relationship goal, but I also have this individual goal. So I do want to keep my own autonomy, but I want to be part of the relationship as well. And so there's this give and take. Sometimes you have to give up your quote-unquote freedom to be yourself, but then other times you want to be a part of the group. So you kind of sometimes give up your autonomy, and then sometimes you give up your connectedness, depending on what you're trying to reach. The fourth, and I love these cats, so you'll have to bear with me here. The fourth is known as segmentation. And segmentation basically says which parts are we willing to talk about and which are off limits. Baxter and Montgomery give a perfect example in their book when they talk about how in a relationship some people want to know all about past relationships, past boyfriends, past girlfriends, etc., past husbands and wives if it's been that situation. Others don't want to know a thing. So what you do is you set a quote-unquote off-limits section. And in the off-limits section, you know you're not going to talk about it. And so there's no argument, there's no complaining, anything of that nature. The fifth is known as balance. And balance is finding some sort of connection between the two, knowing that both of these dialectics, are happening in the situation, and how do I cope and how do I deal with them in a balanced situation? How do I handle both of them? The sixth one would be what's called integration. And in integration, you find a way to take the two opposing forces, the two opposing sides, and almost incorporate one into the other, so that both needs can be met at the same time. How can you meet your autonomy needs while still be in the connected relationship? This might be quiet time when you're sitting in your living room where you're reading, you're together, and there's that beautiful silence. But then there's the part of you that is completely different and doing your own thing. The seventh way is known as recalibration. And in recalibration, you look at things a completely different way. You organize so that you can meet all of the goals at the same time. I can still meet this opposing force because it's part of what I'm doing now. I recalibrate the whole situation. I look at it differently. This glass is perfect. It's not half empty. It's not half full. It's always full. It's just what it's full with. So it's reanalyzing the entire situation. The last one is what's known as acceptance. And acceptance is a beautiful thing because when you truly accept, in my personal opinion, you don't worry about conflict anymore. You know it exists. And so you accept it. There's times where I'm going to have to give this up. There's times where I'm not going to meet all of the needs, but that's okay. And you accept that conflict's a part of it, and you make your best with it. So, how does this help me? I don't know. Hopefully, I've been able to enlighten you in this brief 10 minutes. It's very difficult. I can tell you that conflict and tensions are going to arise. And if you look at relational dialectics, you will find a way in order to make it work for you, to find the best way to handle the situation. So, as always, please contact me, email me if you have any questions. I love the theory. I think it's a beautiful theory for interpersonal communications, and I've enjoyed giving this to you. God bless.